the Scholarly Journal article assignment with you. So this week, what we are going to do in English 108 is we are going to create a research poster for a scholarly article of our choice. Um, and what this assignment is designed to do is really to get you comfortable reading scholarly sources, understanding the structure of scholarly sources, um, and understanding the difference between a scholarly source and a popular source. This is going to be really important when you move into 102, where in English 102, your professors are going to tell you probably to do research, and they may say you have to have X number of scholarly sources or something like that. So you're going to need to be able to differentiate between different types of sources. And so let me just start by giving you a brief overview of the two types of sources. There are popular um, sources and scholarly, and I have a short video embedded here that will walk you through that. But really quickly, I just want to explain that the difference between them is a scholarly source is peer reviewed and appears in a peer reviewed journal. So, what that means is, say I am a climatologist, right, and I do some research. I may want to publish it in one of the climate journals. And so I will submit it to that journal. And then a panel of my peers, like 5 other climatologists, will look at my article, decide if my article is worthy of publication. And if they believe it is, they will publish it. So that is what peer reviewed means, right? And so what it does is it confers additional um, reliability and credibility onto the work, right? If it appears in a scholarly journal, you can assume that it has been vetted and that it is considered a good, reliable source. On the other hand, a popular source, which can also be very reliable, um, is not peer reviewed in the same way, right? So it's popular sources are for consumption by the general public. Scholarly articles and scholarly sources tend to be consumed only by scholars. So a popular source might be a newspaper, right? The Philadelphia Inquirer or the New York Times. It could be any sort of website, right? A website for an organization, for example. These are popular sources that can have varying degrees of credibility and reliability. And we need to also be able to distinguish between a good and not so good popular source. But that's the really brief sort of difference between the two types of sources. Scholarly articles have their own structure, and the structure tends to stay the same. So the second step here is going to link you to a page that is going to talk about the way that a scholarly source is structured. Okay, and so when you click here, this is from Nature Education. Nature is one of the like major science journals in the world, and this talks about the structure of a scientific paper. Okay. And keep in mind, this is something we're going to do in English 101 also with our work in evaluating the climate plan for Philadelphia. So, but really quickly, let me talk to you, and we're going to talk about this in class also. But these are the sections of a paper, okay, an academic paper. It will have an introduction that explains why the work is being presented and prepares the readers for what's to come. It will have a materials and method section, which provides detail for other scientists if they want to try to reproduce the experiment. The ability to reproduce an experiment and get the same result confirms that experiment and turns experiments and theories into knowledge. So in that section, you'll explain, hey, here's what we did and how we did it. And then the results and discussion section will present and discuss the research results. And it's usually combined. Sometimes you will see it separated into 2 sections. But it's going to say this is what happened when we did the experiment, and then it's going to discuss it, like what does this mean that we got this result? Okay. Um, and then the conclusion section is going to present the outcome of the work by interpreting the findings at a higher level of abstraction than the discussion, and by relating these findings to the motivation stated in the introduction. So the conclusion is going to like open up to the broader context for the specific findings. Okay. And this source does give you examples of each section and shows them to you. So I want you to read through that. And and make sure that you're comfortable with that. And then your next step is going to be to choose a scholarly article. Okay, and I'm giving you a lot of leeway to decide. So this is a link to um, a website that publishes lots of research in lots of different fields. Okay, um, it's trying to give open access to scholarly journals, which sometimes are a little more difficult to access if you don't have access to a library. Um, and so what you are going to do is they have a lot of different areas, right? So you'll see down here, for example, featured communities, and you can choose one of these areas, or you can view all research communities that is of interest to you, and choose an article in that community. Okay, so you're going to get to choose the article that you create a research board for. So, for example, ecology. Say I click here, right, I get the climate section, right, which might be of interest to me just because that's what we're studying, so I might feel a certain level of comfort around it. And if I click on it, I'll get articles, right? So here's an article titled "A Century of Warming on Caribbean Coral Reefs." It's probably going to examine what that warming has done to the coral reefs. Um, and here's one, urban adaptation, urban climate health governance, charting the role of public health in large global city adaptation plans. Well, that's kind of interesting since that's what we're kind of studying is how Philadelphia is going to adapt to climate change, right? Um, and if I scroll down, I'll see a number of articles. They don't have a ton of climate articles, but there are, about 10 or so here. Okay, I could choose any of those. But like I said, you're not at all limited to just the climate stuff, right? There's an entire group of stuff about genetics and medicine, which will have a lot of research on COVID. There's one about biology. There's all different kinds of stuff. So what I want you to do is explore the website and browse the articles, explore the different collections, and find one that sounds interesting to you. So you get to kind of engage with your interests here. Okay. And so you're going to choose that article, right? And then you are basically going to do like a summary using paraphrase of that article. You're basically going to take it and put it into a new form. So you're going to put it into a scientific poster, okay? And if you click here, I've got a link to the Cornell engineering site, which has, if you scroll down a little bit, scientific poster templates. You can take any of these templates. You can look at each of them and see which one you like. They're very basic. And, it's not so different from using like Google Docs or Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, basically, or Google Slides. These are PowerPoint templates, but they can be converted really easily into Google Slide templates. And if anyone's having trouble with that, I'm happy to help. But you're going to take one of these templates. So I'll just, click the first one here, show it to you. Right, what you'll see on all of the templates is they're going to have all those sections that we talked about in an academic paper. So a poster is really like the paper put into poster form and kind of shortened to fit into a poster. So you'll have your introduction, your aim, which is kind of like methods and material. This one adds this section of aim, and you may be able, you can probably take out the aim and just do methods here. And then you'll do results and discussion. And, so you may want to modify this one to be like, results and discussion. And obviously you're going to like take out all the information that's in there. And then you'll have your conclusion, right? And then your acknowledgement will be like your works cited, where you'll cite the paper. Okay. So you're going to use these templates, right? And yeah, they have it in two different colors. But anyway, that's where you can choose one, and you're going to use those to complete the assignment. So we'll talk about this more in class this week, but I did want to just kind of do an overview of it so that everyone feels like they kind of know what's happening. Okay? Good luck.